Welcome to a very special episode of Full Metal RPG. I'm your host, Brendan Carrion, and I'm joined by an all-star cast of Full Metal RPG hosts. We got Adam Sink coming out of retirement to do some special reporting. What up, Adam? How you doing, bro?
Doing all right. How y'all doing? Been a minute.
It's been a minute, dude. It's good to see your face. Like coming in hot for the Full Metal RPG takes. Welcome. We got Richard. How you doing, bud? What's crack-a-lackin'?
Well, I'm doing all right.
Working hard?
Oh, as always, and hardly working, as my computer is.
You're sweating, bro. Sweating over the keys, man. I came on. Richard and I have been on for an hour, sweating, making this fucking audio shit work. Yep. It's always an adventure.
Always.
And we got Ashley. Ashley, what up? How you been, playa?
Pretty good. Busy.
But good.
Yeah.
Good. Solid. So we're doing something a little bit different than what we usually do. We're using the platform, the medium of video to talk about miniatures gaming, especially Starbreach by Elijah Kellogg, and published by Slow Death Games out of San Diego. So yeah, Starbreach. So if you listen to the show for a long time, you know that I have like a little bit of work on this book. I did a little bit of layout and stuff on this book. But I'm also very, very close friends with Chris Kohler, who is the owner of the company. And, I've met Elijah and Byron, and we hang out at like Adepticon and shit like that. Anyway, so this is not what you call like sponsored content, but this is definitely something that's kind of like very near and dear to my heart. Very like a company that's near and dear to my heart, and a game that's near and dear to my heart. So I'm on the Slow Death Games Discord, and we'll probably link to that in the show notes.
Yep.
It's a really good kind of sister Discord to the Full Metal RPG Discord, which you can find on fullmetalrpg.com. Find an open invite to that anytime you want. But over on the Slow Death Discord, Byron, who's kind of like the resident painter at Slow Death, he got some Wargames Atlantic. He bought a box of Wargames Atlantic ROM jogger, and he just like crushed out a Starbreach army with one box. He's like, "Oh look, I just bought one box. I made an army." And then Chris started talking about that on the Discord. And then pretty soon, everybody was starting to buzz with that. They were like, "Oh, we should build armies with one box." And because I got to try and codify everything, I was all like, "What if we try to make it like between $50 and $70, and then you just see how kind of an in-depth army you can build, right? Like a leader, a mech, and then a box of the WGA, Wargames Atlantic infantry." So that's kind of what we're doing here. This is like we've turned it into a challenge, Starbreach challenge, #Starbreach challenge. Fucking post your pics on Instagram. Get your pics of Starbreach challenge on Instagram. And this is what we're doing. This is what the Full Metal RPG's crew is doing for Starbreach challenge. So we're all doing this, and we hope that you will too. We hope that you'll post pics of what it is that you're doing, because this is actually fun as fuck. Just kind of like taking a limited number of models and then crushing out an army real fast in May, and then at the end of May, we're gonna play some fucking game. Is that right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
And this is gonna be your first miniatures game, right? Right, Ashley?
Yeah, I've wanted to get into it for a long time. One of the first episodes I was on, I think I talked about it with you guys because you were all about Warhammer. I was like, I've never played any miniature game, and I'd really like to do that. And I backed this when it came out, and when you mentioned this was going on, I was like, yes, I would like in on that very much.
Awesome. Yeah, this is like a great way to get started because it's very accessible in terms of price point, and like as you pointed out, like Adam and I are like old school Warhammer guys. Richard has like rekindled his love of Warhammer and has been playing Warhammer lately, and man, it ain't cheap. Fucking
no, not at all. Never.
better get a second job so you can play fucking Warhammer. But Wargames Atlantic box of these infantry dudes is $35.
Yeah.
And then that gives you, if you're going to go up to 70, that gives you what, 25 more bucks to work with, right? No, 7. It gives you another 35. It's math. Because math. All right, so let's talk about our toys.
It's like Richard has mine, so just pretend I'm holding it. But
Yeah.
So Adam, what toys did you decide to buy from Wargames Atlantic? Tell me about your Wargames Atlantic stuff first.
I ended up getting the Eisenkern Stormtroopers, and these were actually a Deathforge Games kit originally. They used to make like these big mechs that were on Kickstarter, and they had a whole bunch of these Iron Core units. But Wargames Atlantic picked up the license, and they created an updated Stormtroopers box. So you got 20 multi-part models in here. And they come on a sprue, so they look like that. And
individual
yeah,
legs.
just looking at them, I was amazed that it's individual legs. I'm gonna have to like glue together. And the guns are very like surprisingly thin. I'm used to like the chunky bolters from Games Workshop and the big kind of maximalist hands and all of that. And these are actually very kind of, if you look at them, they're rather, that's not going to focus in on for me, is it? They're rather delicate. And so that's going to be interesting. I would recommend a good pair of the clippers to get in here and get at these.
What are the head options like? Do you get a pretty decent kind of head option? Because if we're using the just the one box of infantry, when you look at like the way that like a Star Breach army is broken down, there's usually like 3 different kinds of troops for each faction, but they're all kind of like very similar. Do you think you're going to be able to get variation between the troops based on heads?
So not so much. I've got one with like a cap on that you can clearly use as a leader. Like he's kind of on the box art. It's the guy with like the lieutenant cap here. There's a stormtrooper head that has these goggles on, and then the rest of them, there's 2 of those, and then the rest of them all kind of look pretty samey. I know that for the Force I was picking out, there's a chaplain option, and I actually have heads from Mad Robot. They're these guys with these kind of skull faces on, and then a helmet, and I might take one of those and stick it onto here if it fits right, just to get a little bit of difference on that character, so he looks like he stands out a little more. Otherwise, what I would do is just pick out the shoulder pads or give them some kind of insignia that's very clearly visible to go, okay, the guy with the, ochre shoulder pads or whatever, he's the medic.
Right.
And the guy, and then you can just kind of differentiate that way. Is there a ton of variation? No. Do you get all the weapon options that you would get for your Star Breach Warband? Probably not. I know that like in that one, for the faction I picked, they have like a rocket launcher option. There's not a rocket launcher on this sprue. So I'll either have to not run one of those or work around it. But
cool.
It's a good kit. It's a solid kit. It looks like it'll be a ton of fun, and there'll be a lot of variation in how I compose them. I got a bunch of different options on like machine guns, submachine guns, shotguns, sniper kind of rifles, longer heavy machine guns. So there'll be enough stuff to do with this kit.
Solid gold. How about you, Richard? I know you bought 2 boxes, and you and Ashley are kind of splitting. So,
right.
Why don't you guys talk about what your methodology is there?
I'll let Ashley go first because she picked. Because I was undecided because, of course, I am a lover of many things, and it was very difficult. So I got both the lizard men and the dwarves, the space dwarves, the Einherjar. Einherjar, which is I think it's like an old Norse warrior or something like that. But anyway, Ashley, why don't you? You haven't seen this box yet because I just got it in the mail. But why did you go with the dwarves?
What's called about space dwarves?
They're like Viking space dwarves, first of all, so that was exciting. I just really like dwarves. Like in all of my campaigns, that's one of my favorite builds is a dwarf. I like that. So I just thought when I was going through them, that's the one that seemed like I could have the most fun with it. It seemed like it would be it could be in the most different things because I don't want to run like a whole robot army or anything like that. So I'm like the opposite of RBK in that regard, because if he could run a whole robot army, he totally would.
I would. That's true.
Yeah. Yes. So just looking at the different options that were there, that was the one that kind of spoke to me the most. And it may be because I'm coming from like a fantasy background with gaming, because I play a lot of like Pathfinder, D&D, stuff like that. So that was one of them that just stood out to me based on experiences I'd had. But that's one that spoke to me the most. And it just so happened that that's the one that he bought when he bought the two of them.
Right.
So he couldn't make his decision, and I made it for him by like, hey, I'll take those and you can be the other one.
Right.
So,
Nice.
yes.
And
How about you, Richard?
well, I was gonna say on these space dwarves, there are actually some cool weapon options. There's like a flamer and like a heavy flamer and like a grenade launcher and like, yeah, it looks like you've got some really, really cool options here on the sprue. So, and it's amazing they can get 24 of these in one box. So I mean, they're smaller than the 28 millimeter we're used to.
So
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Adam, you said you had 20 for the Eisenkern, is that right?
Yeah, for those you get 20 multi-plastic hard plastic figures, and so you get a good amount of options. And like I said, the only big thing is if you're looking to run a flamethrower or a rocket launcher, they don't come in this box, but there's plenty of miniature companies that will sell you those weapons. I don't know how they'll fit in the little hands of these guys because they're so small. So I'm going to do some dry fitting on some of those a little when I start assembling them to kind of figure out how all of that goes together and how all of that looks. Because I'm going to have to figure out what looks okay with these, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And I definitely want them to be, I want them to be modeled with the weapons that they're supposed to have so that it's easy to determine who is what when I put them on the table.
Yeah, what you see is what you get. But
Yeah,
Richard,
right.
your lizards, it looks like they have 24 in their pack
Yes,
too. Is
there
that
are
right?
24 in here, which is well more than I need for this game. So you can do some kind of interesting kit bashes here. I think you could, but what this is labeled as a classic fantasy kit. This is what I think is really sweet and well done by Wargames Atlantic. Is it actually has other options in the box. So Death Fields, which is labeled on the back as their sci-fi options. So what got me really excited about the Lizardmen is they got freaking gas masks and little AK-47s or little long rifles, like just, oh my God, lizards and gas masks. Like, come on. Like, it's just something you don't see every day. And I'm super excited about that, as you can tell.
Well, maybe you don't see it every day.
Well,
right.
Okay. I'm not in your
Gilbert.
dreams. At least hope I'm not in your dreams, Adam. Anyway.
I'm just going to step outside. I can go grab some for you.
Okay. Well, but
That is very interesting. And they also have a squad of giant spiders, right? That also
the
have
spiders are rad.
gun arms.
The big ones. Yeah, the big spiders have gun arms. The little ones don't, but the big ones do.
How many gun
interesting.
arms do they have?
Yeah.
How many arms can you use for?
Well, I think each spider only has one gun
Right.
on the arm, but but kind of anthropomorphizing the spider a little bit and allowing you to use that kit as either a fantasy kit or a sci-fi kit. I think that's a really sick innovation, and it's very tempting. It's very tempting. Did you have any more you want to say about your lizards, Richard?
I wanted to show the sprue because it looks like there's about 3 lizards on a sprue. They're relatively, you can see they're not super big, so they're kind of but I'm used to orcs with from GW, so their hands are like the size of one of the fingers on the orcs. So like that's going to be fun to paint, but I think I've got some cool options here, and I think I'm probably going to end up trying to green stuff a long coat on one of them. So,
all right. Well, there'll
see.
be some learning in that. Enjoy.
Yeah. So,
I went ahead and scored Ramyagar Infantry. These guys are kind of cool. They have sort of a shock troopery, kind of a little bit Deathcore of Krieg reminiscent kind of look, especially at least by the way they're painted on the outside. They have that kind of totalitarian look to them, without being like super fashy or anything. So I went ahead and took them. I think the sprue is great. I fucking love the sprue. The gun arms There's like a real wide variety of gun arms, and then it's very clearly like you have a 40k flamer, some kind of heavy gun, and then a 40k plasma gun. So that should kind of give me plenty of options to equip them the way I want to equip them. The thing that is most exciting to me are the heads, because there's a real variety here between these, because you can kind of see on the, I mean, you probably can't see on this screen, but there's some dudes who have these kind of hard face masks to look more intimidating and terrorizing and shit, and then there's some dudes with no face masks. And so when you actually open up the kit, there's guys with face masks, guys without face masks, and then there's some who don't even have helmets. And I think there's even a lady figure. There's like a lady, a female.
How very
female
progressive of them.
Yeah. So a wide variety of looks that you can put onto these toys. So that will cover like a lot of kind of the granularity in the way that the force appears on the table right away. And then kind of like what Richard was saying, there's 24 in the Ramyagar. And there's just no way I'm going to use 24. If you were playing a horde army in Star Breach and you were like, I'm just going to take as much shit, like the most hordy guys I wanted, I don't think you could squeeze 24 guys into a list. I don't think that the game supports it. So I'll definitely have leftovers. So if people want to trade or whatever, if people are like, hey, Brendan, let's trade a sprue for a sprue or something, I think there's like 4 dudes on here. These are, I mean, aside from Star Breach, these are fucking great for Imperial Guard. This is better as an Imperial Guard sprue than what Warhammer is selling Imperial Guard sprues right now. And the detail on them is great. This is just the kind of kit that you used to buy and gets to get excited to go home and start clipping them out and making them. I'm really stoked. I can't wait to put these guys together. But we can't really make our armies until we have them kind of fleshed out a little bit. So who has had an opportunity to pick out some like leader models and some mech models? Has anybody had a chance to do that?
Well, I picked out a mech model.
What'd you get?
So I got this ball tank, and I should probably have opened the package, but essentially, I don't know if it's too big. Huh? It's a spherical tank. It's based on a World War II, pre-World War II German prototype of this tank, because armor, one of the problems is, you force against a flat object will almost always go through eventually. Where they were thinking like building a spherical tank, you would always have an angle for the fire to ricochet off of it. So
that's interesting.
They built a prototype, and then these guys, was this Gadius Gaming? Did a Kickstarter for them, and I was trying to find a mech that went with lizard men, and I was just not having a lot of luck. Like I could stick a lizard tail on a BattleTech Mini, which would be, or like make one out of like extra sprue, right? You could make like a little sprue tail or something, make it look lizardy. But I was thinking like this had like kind of a, because it's World War II, it's that early century vibe to it that I think a couple of my army options could really go with. So
nice. There's some kind of reptilian looking mechs that you can find in the infinity range that could work for you or anyone who wants to flesh out the lizard men kind of line. However, infinity used to be like super easy to get into in terms of price point. And since they've become kind of like one of the bigger miniatures games, the price on their mechs has just skyrocketed. Now they're like $50. They're like, if you want to get a fucking Infinity mech, it's like $50. So clearly it was like Infinity just kind of priced itself out of this challenge, unfortunately, which is a bummer because I think Infinity models, I personally think that Infinity as a game is like super unfun. But I love their models. I'm always looking for a reason to get their models on the table. But for the purposes of this challenge, like, womp womp, if you want to charge kind of like Warhammer fucking 2010 prices, then we can't really. It's It ain't gonna work.
No.
Did you get a leader or anything? Did you?
No. I'm gonna make a leader out of my box. So I'm just gonna take one of the lizards and I'm gonna make him the leader. That's why I said I'm gonna put like a trench coat or something. I'm gonna make a base that maybe is a little taller. Like I'll put like a piece of bark or something so they're standing a little taller, and then give them some kind of tech or something that'll make them look more fantastic. I'm not all about just like the maximalist idea from GW of like every leader must be a head plus taller than anyone else that they're commanding. Like it's like sort of the Invader Zim. It's sort of the Invader Zim model of leadership. Like whoever's tallest is ruling. That's the GW model, which I find is hilarious on Invader Zim, and I find kind of annoying from GW.
You play orcs. You should be used to that.
Well, I know. It's literally
the one who's in charge,
right? But I don't agree with that, and all my models are actually this. I've always just converted boys into knobs and leaders. So sounds
like you need to take that up with the war boss. And
I do.
If you can beat him, then you're the boss.
So do you have enough gas masks to have your army be entirely gas masks?
Yes. Every sprue has 3. So there's 3 lizards on a sprue, and there's 3 gas mask heads on a sprue. But there's actually like 1, 2. I think there's like 4 head options on a sprue. I mean, they're basically the same. 1, 2, there's like 4 head options on a sprue. Over here too.
Nice.
So one that's like a little more iguana shaped. One that's a little more raptor shaped, and one that's a little more like Dinosaurs the TV show shaped.
Oh, how cool. That's really neat. So you could put one of them to be your leader and be like, he's like the king dinosaur or some shit. Yeah. That's like very Superman.
Yeah.
How about you, Ashley? Have you looked into some of the support models that you want to use yet?
I wish I had gotten the box from Richard before this so that I could look through it more, because I don't know what's in it. One question I do have, when you say sprue, are those like the sheets of plastic that have little things in it?
Yes.
Each of those is made sprue? Okay.
This is a sprue. A sprue is this little wire frame that has all the little pieces, and you cut the pieces out of them. Yeah, that's a sprue. Sorry.
Right. Cool. And then the pieces become bits at that point.
Which is just a interesting distinction.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
I figured from context clues that's what it was, but I just wanted to clarify.
Right.
So no worries, that's fine.
In gamer parlance, this is a kit, and then the kit is made up of component sprues, and then on the sprues are pieces or bits.
Okay.
So that's some parlance, some slang for you. I mean, and I'm glad that you asked, because one of the criticisms that I get. One of the constructive criticisms I get from Full Metal RPG very consistently over the years is that we don't ever explain any of the terminology that we use.
Yeah.
We use a lot of acronyms and tech speak, and we never explain it. So you haven't had a chance to look at the Mechs yet? You haven't nothing.
Well,
go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, Mechs. I was kind of asking in the chat when we were talking about it if I have to have one or if I can just do all dwarves, like if I can just do all space dwarves. Is it one of the things where each faction should have a mech, like at least one?
Well, it's interesting. The way that Elijah wrote the game is he kind of understood that the way Games Workshop kind of writes games is that it's almost kind of like what Richard was saying, where it's like every army has these variable sizes of model, and regardless of what's kind of on the base size, every army that has these certain base sizes and then a similar sort of mass, like volume of model that sits on one of those bases. And so he made sure that every army had what he just calls a mech, which it doesn't have to be a mech. I mean, you can use your imagination as much as you want. If you want to have like a big monster and you just use the mech stats, or you want to have like a really big, strong person standing there, or even like a gun turret or something. I mean, it's really up to you to be as imaginative as you want. If you look at the stats for your list that you end up choosing, and you don't like the mech stats, and you're like, I don't want to bother with it, then don't. That's so it's cool. I will say, however, Mantic Games does a range of space dwarfs called Forge Fathers.
Yes,
they have a whole line of space dwarf mechs. And I play Forge Fathers in their game Dead Zone, and I have like 6 of these things. So if you feel like you want a Mac, I can go and dig one up, and I can just get it to you.
Oh, okay, cool. I was writing that down, but
yeah, take a look online. Check out Mantic and see if you like the way they look. And if you like the way they look, because it's like a robot with a beard, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah,
nice.
'cause
Yes, I
dwarves.
definitely want one. Then I can just say right now that I know I'm going to want one. Whether I use it for the game or not, I don't know, but I definitely want one.
How about you, Adam? Would you pick out for your support models?
So for the leader, I'm just going to build him off the sprue here. I'll either go with the kind of classic captain's hat or the cap like the guy has on the box art here. So either one of those will work for the leader. As far as the support, I went onto Etsy and found somebody who makes, they're effectively IG Sentinels, kind of knockoffs of those, pretty cheap. You can get 3 of them for under $30. If you want all the weapon options, I think it bumps it to 32. And you can order it. I don't know if it'll get here in time because it's Etsy and it's coming from probably Russia. And so I really don't know if it will make it in time or not. If it doesn't make it in time, I will probably go down to my BattleTech box downstairs and pick one of those out and paint it up and use it as a mech instead. Because, if you pick like an Atlas or something that looks like it's got the skull plate, it'll be good sized. It'll be about that big compared to the infantry that are about that big, and it'll look like a mech suit. So, if I always have that as a fallback if I need to use it. Or if not, I don't know. I've seen people build dreadnoughts out of Lego. I don't know. You got plenty of options if you want to do all kinds of crazy stuff with mechs in any of these games. So there's all kinds of fun things you can do. Don't feel limited, and go out and, like you said, if you want to run a monster, run a monster. I'm probably going to be running either like Legion of Mankind or the Machine Cult with these guys. So I probably want something that looks more techie and human, but
I find that when you're looking for cheap support for your Starbreach army, especially if you're doing a challenge like this, you really cannot go wrong with Privateer. Okay, like Privateer Press, the once like trying to take Games Workshop out of #1 with their spunky attitude and really great game, has fallen on such hard times that you can buy fucking Privateer models for pennies on the dollar. And their idea of like, oh yeah, it's the game about fucking big robots fighting, and then there's also these kind of sci-fi / fantasy looking troops, actually make them, especially if you're kind of used to a sort of Warhammer-ish it's a blend of fantasy and sci-fi imagery squished together onto one model. They don't look bad. They're maybe a little bit cartoony, depending on what it is you want to convey with your army. But I think a lot of that kind of comes down to paint job. If you do like a paint job that's not cartoony, I think that you can find stuff that will really work for Starbreach. And that's the direction I went. I went out and I got this Khador Khuldoon Lord. I'll never play War Machine again. They would have to like completely redesign that game to get me interested in it. I have no interest whatsoever in War Machine. But I've always loved this Khuldoon Lord model. So I was like, hey, great. This guy's like, $10 or something. I snatched him up. And then I fucking ordered another Khador model. Cause I was like, if I put this guy with he looks kind of like some kind of communist commissar or something. I was like, the Khador stuff all kind of has that vaguely sort of Soviet fantasy Soviet world kind of look, and I was like, with the Ramyagar, I could put them next to each other and they'll look kind of Soviet-y. I could put some Soviet kind of colors on them, and so there's another Khador model called like the Old Witch and Scrapjack. She comes with a little tiny mech that kind of follows her around, and then she's like this withered old crone with like a fucking giant claw arm, like a mechanized claw arm. And I was like, oh, this will be cool.
That's cool.
For the price of like under $30, I can get this Khuldoon Lord, I can get a witch, and I can get a little mech, and boom, I'll have 2 characters and a mech. And then fucking the Old Witch and Scrapjack got lost in the mail. What up? And so I'm currently in a fucking dispute with the eBay seller guy because the post office marked it as delivered. And I went down to they're like, oh, tracking delivered. And I went down to my mailbox. I was like, oh, cool. I'll get started on this. Opened it up. It's not in there. So I wrote the dude on eBay, and I like explained the situation. He goes, well, did you call your post office? And I'm just like, what do you expect the post office to do? Like, they delivered it to someone else's house. They don't know where they put it, you know? Like, are you going to help me out with this toy I bought or no? So I suspect the answer to that is no.
Yeah.
And I need to now get a new mech. So waiting for that to come in. I don't know if it'll be the old witch or not. We'll see if I can find one for that price, because I had gotten everything in at $66 before shipping. I wasn't including shipping because that really kind of foils the curve if you start putting the shipping in. So that was my initial goal, which was get some of these little Codor guys to kind of flesh out the rest of my force. But kind of like Richard was saying when he bought 2 infantry boxes, it's kind of like the philosophy of that like billionaire dude in that movie Contact who builds like 2 space stations, and he's like, why buy 1 when you can buy 2 for twice as much? And I've been on eBay and I've been like, well, as long as those guys are gone, I better pick up some other ones just in case this happens again. So I don't even really know what that force is going to look like when it's all done. What lists do you guys think that you're all going to use? Adam, you were saying that you were thinking Legion of Mankind or Cult of Machine. What's drawing you to those lists? How are you going to kind of exemplify that with your modeling?
I think that so Legion, I mean, these are clearly human models. And so I've either got, and, kind of looking at them, they have a very stormtrooper-y, fashy kind of look to them. So they could easily be Legion of Mankind, but given that they're full suits and they don't necessarily show their face, they could be Cult of the Machine, right? Like they could be these hooded, cowled figures who you don't ever see their faces. So they could very easily fall into either one of those. With the mech that I ended up picking up that hopefully arrives in time for this, it's also very kind of like imperialist looking, very human looking. And so I think it'll fit in very well with those themes and go together. Plus, kind of looking over the gun lists, I was able to make more of a one-to-one of what's here on my sprue with what those lists had available to them, as opposed to some of the other ones where I'm like, I don't even know like what this means, so I have no idea how I would even model that or what that gun would even necessarily look like. There's a lot of stuff like, corrupted blade and claw, and I'm like, well, I don't have anything that looks remotely like that. Needle guns, needle rifles, stuff like that. It's like I don't have weapons that I think would fit well with this list. So part of it was a consideration of, how do I want to model this? How do I want it to look? And what do I feel it represents once it's actually on the table, right? Like, because there's other human factions like Raiders. These guys clearly don't look like Raiders. There's, intergalactic marshals or inquisitors. They don't necessarily look like those either. I suspect with the right paint job, they could look inquisitorial. So yeah, it was just kind of a decision about how I'm envisioning them in my head and how I want them to look. I'm kind of picturing painting these guys in a very kind of olive drab style, with like a lot of like a lighter brown washes over them to kind of give them that very earthy kind of camo kind of look. Because it's always been one of the things that bugs me about GW is they're like, we're the elite warriors of the galaxy. We're coming down to wage war on this planet. We are wearing bright blue armor that just says, shoot me in the... And our leader doesn't wear a helmet. So he's just saying, shoot me in the face. Right here, just shoot at the face. All of the bullets go to the face. Mm-hmm. My leader here won't have a helmet either, because that's just leaders never do. Because how are you going to lead if you got a helmet on, right? But yeah, that's always one of the things that bugs me about Games Workshop is that very kind of almost brightly, garishly colored approach that they have to not camo not being a thing.
What's up, Richard?
Oh, I was saying I'm bravo at not wanting to paint bright colors. I mean, I'm going to probably make my lizards red because I've been painting green for the last 6 months, but like
trying to get a nice Christmas balance.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still trying to decide. Anyway, there was more like a bravo, well done. Though I would say maybe just you could have an open faced helmet and on your leader.
I'd need to go buy one. I could go buy like heads and have a better head. And I may go do that. I may go look at different head options that I can pick up for this because I'm still, if I just break out the cost of the mech individually, I'm only at like $45 so far total.
Nice.
I'm at 60 total with the actual these guys and all three of the mechs. But if I do it on a model by model basis, it's like, well, for the box and the one mech, I'm at like $45-$50, so I could get heads if I need to.
Am I kind of getting a sense that we kind of want to paint our armies in sort of like a darker scheme? Is that something do we want to kind of paint a little bit as a group? Are we kind of going in a direction where we're kind of going to paint a little bit more realistically and a little less kind of cartoonishly?
I've been painting like bright gold custodes and like bright red blood angels for so long that I would like to paint things that look a little more militaristic instead of.
All right, how do you feel about that, Ashley? How's that sound?
Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, if you look at any of the minis that I've painted, none of them are bright. They're all pretty dark. So
cool.
I'm good with that.
Cool. What faction are you looking at?
I have been going back and forth between a few of them. When I saw Continuum, I immediately thought of Q because Star Trek, and I was like, okay, like a legion of Q dwarves would be amazing. But the more I read the description, it's not so much that. They're like all criminally and whatever. So
Time Bandits. You could do Time Bandits.
Yes.
Perigilium. Did you ever see that?
Yeah. No, I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it. So
you will enjoy that movie so much. You should add it to your Tuesday taco night watch list for sure.
That's what I was going to say. Is I'll just add it to my list to roll through for Taco Tuesday.
Yeah.
So I was kind of flipping through some of the other ones, and the path looked interesting, but I did have a question about that because with the path, it's interesting because you can have peacetime or wartime.
Mm-hmm.
It's on page 104 of the book if you wanted to flip open to it.
Let me open up my rules manual here. 104.
Right. Yeah, page 104. So with this one, it's basically the Jedi.
Right.
Yeah, it's basically the Jedi.
It's totally not the Jedi. It's totally
but it's martial
Legally
arts
distinct.
that reaches back to epics long ago and galaxies far away. Like it's in the fucking description. But I was reading it and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. But the peacetime wartime selector is interesting because why would you do peacetime if you're like in a battle thing? Like, why would you choose that if because you're not going to just make these and be like, yeah, this is the path and they sit on the shelf because they are peacetime.
You came to negotiate with the trade separatists and then they locked you in a room and tried to gas you. And now it's laser sword time.
Right.
Cool. Okay.
This is the differentiation between like Clone Wars and then just Jedis being space cops, I guess.
Okay.
Right.
Cool. So I was looking at that and I kind of liked it, but then as I was going through the different the lists of the different types you could choose, I didn't see any that were mech because if you choose peacetime or wartime, you can only choose ones that have to do with that. Like the trooper is only war, so if you choose the peacetime, you can't choose a trooper.
Right, and there is no mech in this one. It's just the servant android.
Yes. So what I would do for that is I would just take a regular dwarf and paint him like gold. And so then he is a robot dwarf, and then he's the servant android.
Yeah, I love it.
I love it. Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm thinking, which would, again, because I'm coming from a complete and utter no idea what this is point of view. So the mech, I was like, oh, I won't need a mech. That's fine. And then everyone's like, what are you doing for a mech? And I'm like, I'm not. Was I supposed to?
You don't have to do a mech. Yeah. I thought that he worked one in for all of them, but I guess not. I guess not for that.
Yeah, this one, it doesn't look like it has one. So, I might do that. And then for my leader, once I get them and I can look at what bits are on the sprues when I take them out.
Richard, get on that.
Well, we'll talk about that after this.
Yes. But like for the leader, when you were talking about like, oh, you can put bark or something, I was like, oh, I I have lots of rocks outside because I live in Arizona. So I was like, oh, if I get a rock and put that on the base or something, and he's standing on a boulder or something.
Yeah.
So
I'm just going to mount mine on live scorpions.
Ooh, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Have them riding scorpions across. You just open the cage and like let them go.
Can you move my leader for me?
No.
No.
You, like poke it with a stick to try and get it to move in the right direction.
What faction are you thinking, Richard?
So I'm kind of torn. Like I was thinking about nomadic raiders. That's what it's called. Nomadic raiders. So basically like space pirates. So nice. I think that would be cool. I was also
that is a cool one.
Yeah,
that's like that's the one where you like get to choose your weapons from any other list. I saw that one. And I was just like, oh fuck that! I don't even want to think about it. I don't even want to put the brain power in. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And then I was also thinking about the rebels because I think the lizards being kind of scrappy and they're wearing gas masks and they're carrying like kind of antiquated looking weapons, like AK-47s kind of look antiquated, right? But they look cool. You know, I could see the rebels, but anyway. And then I was also thinking about the Continuum Syndicate, which I thought was really cool because my mech that I've chosen is retro-ish and it says like out of date scrap mech is like what it's called. So it kind of makes sense there. And then they're supposed to have like blunderbusses and like six shooters and stuff. So they have like a heavy repeating bolter, which sounds like an AK-47 to me. So like that one very much fits, but like I can see, because we were going to work out which one I was going to go. So I could go any of those three ways and be very happy with what I've got. So
okay.
Yeah, if I'm doing time continuum, I'm doing like a Dalek for the mech because I think that would be like the coolest thing to have on the table.
That's true.
So somebody makes Daleks now. There's somebody who does. There's like a miniatures game. So I think you can get them. You can get them online.
Yeah, and it would be a lot of fun just to have that as your time continuum mech. Like,
yeah.
Exterminate.
Just like a TARDIS, like a little TARDIS too.
So you run across stairs and then you can't do anything.
Get a Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart model and be upset. So I'm kind of looking at, because the thing is that I already have lists for Star Breach for like a whole bunch of essentially like my favorite armies. One of the things that I think Elijah did so well in this game is he some of his interpretations of like army ideas were just really compelling. So I really like Uruk Warlords, and I have an Uruk Warlords list in my closet. I really like Corrupted Lorani. I have a Corrupted Lorani list in my closet. So like I was like, I don't really want to redo those. I was like, maybe I'll do Terror Legion, but then I came up with a different idea for Terror Legion. So I was like, maybe Legion of Mankind, I think. Or I was thinking Nomadic Raiders, but then I was like, shit, man, I just really do not want to do the what's it called? Like picking out all the weapons. Yeah, and then because they just get so many weapons to choose from, and you could just go insane sitting there being like, oh, like, hey, well, how can I completely just optimize this so that like each guy serves a different little mini function on the table? I just really don't.
Well, and you can't just pick one weapon across your entire faction for them. Like you have to choose a different weapon for each one of your guys that has a weapon from somebody else's list. So you're going to, it's very much situation. Like this is my guy that is very much like, this is the heavy flamer dude. And this is, but I was thinking like, I've got Battle Scribe set up so I can kind of flip through it. So like I can kind of flip between the different things, and it's a very clear book to your editing to flip through and find things. So it's not like I have to like go through 6 pages of pictures of armies to get to something.
I'm glad to hear that because, I mean, first of all, I will say this book is riddled with mistakes. It drives me nuts. This is my soft cover copy, and as I'm going through it, I'm just going to circle everything that I've found over the last year or so that's wrong so I can fix it for the next iteration. But I'm happy to hear that. Like when I received the document, I thought it made a pretty good internal sense, but I did spend a lot of hours, and my long suffering girlfriend can speak to it, like sitting at the kitchen table in the dark, like after she had gone to bed, trying to really iron this thing out so it was like useful. So thank you for saying so.
Yeah. The one thing I will say is I would have liked the armies in alphabetical order, but I'm sure that was an argument with somebody. So
it was. I will say that I put the alpha skills. I put the alpha skill. When they were presented to me, they were done with like a Russian nesting doll order, and they were not in alphabetical order. And I was like, nope, people aren't going to know how to find it.
Yep.
I just broke it all up and made it all alphabetical. So if you're looking for your alpha skill and you can find it, you're welcome.
Right.
Yeah. So, Adam, you're also thinking Legion of Mankind. You and I can kind of discuss as we proceed forward, which one of us will do that one. But there's other stuff I could do in here. I could always go in a different direction. But we'll kind of like Richard and Ashley are going to kind of discuss it and figure it out. You and I can kind of discuss it and figure it out as we proceed.
Yeah, we'll dig through it. Like I said, it was just the one that I felt one of the two that I felt was closest to the look of what I had.
Yeah.
But they could easily be, like I said, Machine Cult because they have a very kind of, I mean, they're like in completely sealed off suits. They have a very kind of like almost robotic look to them.
Yeah, I mean, it's just whatever we end up feeling is kind of like the most fun. Like, 'cause it's just about fun. We're just all trying to have fun and not be precious about our ideas. So, yeah, we'll figure something out. Does anybody have any closing thoughts?
I'm really, really excited. I've been wanting to get into like miniature wargaming stuff for a long time. So I'm really excited to get into this with you guys.
Awesome. Yeah, and we're super happy to have you. And I'm super happy to be doing this with the Full Metal RPG crew. This is like kind of like our first like foray into minis together. I think that you bring up a great point on some level. Star Breach, it's a great way for people to sort of, it's a great introductory miniatures game. The soft cover copies of the book are on Slow Death Games, $20 for a fucking soft cover. And then I think it's, what is it? 10? Is it 10 for, or is it 15? 15, I think. For
it's two sets. It's 2 sets of dice, right? When you buy one, you always
right.
I can't remember. I haven't been on there in a hot minute.
Right. You buy 2 so that whenever you meet to play, if you have the same dice as the other person, you can use the other, or you can just be like, let's just use both sets of my dice. They're different, and so you all, if you need to, if you don't feel like you need to buy dice, we all have dice. Like someone else in this group is going to have dice that you can use or borrow or whatever. So don't feel like you have to buy them.
And you can
if you have a gaming group, just you can all just buy them together, and then you only need to buy one because you all know that my dice doesn't conflict with Brendan's dice doesn't conflict with Richard's dice doesn't conflict with Ashley's dice. We all have different dice.
Well, you can also just use regular D6s.
Yeah.
So, like, as long as they're the same size, there's like 2 different colors.
As long as they're the same size, because the initiative system on the game is you reach into a bag. It's a blind draw to see whoever if you draw the color of your faction or whatever, then your guy gets to go. You get to select a guy to go.
Right.
So as long as they're the same, as long as they feel the same, and doesn't give us an institutional advantage, then you can use whatever kind of dice you want. You could use colored rocks. It's all good. Yeah, but check out slowdeathgames.com. See what's up if you're interested in joining us in this. Wargames Atlantic has the infantry kits, and we'll be posting on social media with hashtag Starbreach Challenge. So find us on the Discord, find us on the Instagram. We are looking forward to seeing you out there. Thank you, everybody, for watching with us. Have a good night.
Bye.